This is October, and we're going to celebrate the beauty of the season of autumn and fall. And in Japan, if you ride the trains and you're a photographer or a painter or a nature lover, they have a wonderful schedule that they put out with what cities are blooming or what cities are showing the beautiful color, even broken down to red maple and yellow maple. And you can find the schedule online, and then you can get on the train and you can go to that place and see the beautiful colors of the autumn leaves and enjoy them. It's an amazing thing. Just like they do in the spring for the cherry blossoms, they do it for the maple leaves, the momiji, in the fall. So also, though, I would like to point out that in the fall they have a program called the Chrysanthemum Doll Festival. And kiku is the word for chrysanthemum, and ningyo is the word for doll. So it's the Chrysanthemum Doll Festival. Now, I went back in 1998 to the Hirakata Park, where it was about 50 years old, but they quit doing these in 2005. But there is still another place called Takefu Kiku Festival, and that particular place has been doing it for 70 years. 70-year-old program. And what they do is they show an ancient story of Japan or stories from Japanese culture and history, and they will have dolls, and I will show you in here the pictures of that particular program. Let's see, like that one. So little scenes or little vignettes that they show the story. It helps to tell the story of the particular figures. And the heads and the hands are made out of, of a mannequin, but the clothing are all made out of moss or made out of chrysanthemums or different kinds of leaves or seeds or different things like that. Anyway, it's really nice. It's like being in a play, only with stationary little people, and they really tell the story. So then I just want to show you pictures of autumn. So there's the momiji, pictures of my mother and I when we were there in 1998, going to visit the maple leaves. Nice. So I'll pass that around, and you can take a look at that. And then I brought some things to show you that are in the colors of autumn. And that would be, this is I forgot the word. It's tie-dye. Shibori. Sorry, it just came to me. Shibori is the word for tie-dye. And so that's why it's all crinkly like this, because they would crinkle this all up like this, and then they dip that in a dye, or this would all be resist. See, it would all be black, and then they'd resist the certain colors, and then they dip each color into a different, that would all have been resist dye, and then they dip each one in a different color. But isn't it a beautiful piece of fabric? This is to make a whole kimono out of. But this one here is an actual obi, and it's woven. And the nice thing about this particular obi is that it has the chrysanthemum's individual flowers on it, and it's woven so elegantly that you look at the back side or the front side and there would be no back or front. It's perfectly, the obi is the sash or the belt that they wear around a kimono. Now if I hold it up and you look underneath it and you see the light, can you see the light coming through it? Mm-hmm. You can actually see the light coming through it. It's really finely woven. It's a really, really wonderful example of an obi for the fall. It's just beautiful. But fall doesn't have to be always in these colors. Sometimes they'll show maple leaves with maybe a salmon or a pink color, like these little plates. And these little plates show the little water and gold, and just as this one does too. This is washi paper from Japan, and this is some nice stationery with pink maple leaves on it, but still the maple leaves. And so just celebrating this month for October, the beauty of the colors of autumn, and just appreciate them when they come. We're on the cusp right now of things starting to turn, so just enjoy that beautiful color as it comes on this year.
How about the flower arrangement?
The little
Did you do that
bonsai is actually a donation that someone made for here, and they made it in Tokyo at a class, and it's all artificial.
Oh, it's
Cute.
Yeah, it's artificial, but it's an artificial bonsai that someone made. For October are some nice autumn colors. You all have a drawing, and on your drawing, I actually did this arrangement the reverse of the sketch that I drew, because when I pulled it out, the gladiola wanted to go the opposite direction. So don't try to argue with your flowers, because it really doesn't work out very well. So you'll all have 3 gladiolas. And on the top of the gladiolas, sometimes there's a little, to me it looks like a little crab claw at the top of the gladiola. It's a rather flattened bunch of greenery at the top. And you're going to want to snap that off, because that is going to take this, if you leave it on, it's going to take the strength away from the other blooms to fully open. So once you look at your gladiolas and you snap off those tips off of the top of the glads, then you will choose the one that's the strongest and tallest, and that's going to be your heaven line. And to get that, you're going to measure 2 times the width and 1 time the height. And if you have a small bowl, or even if you have a really big bowl, you might want to make it a little more dramatic. You can add a couple more inches onto that so that you have a little more drama. Then you're going to choose your next tallest one, and you're going to place that in front of the heaven line and slightly forward. Then your last one, which will be your smallest one, you're going to cut that at another level, just maybe a tad slightly higher than half. And that's going to be placed in the back, and that will be your helping heaven line. Now on the gladiolas, you may have a lot of foliage on your gladiolas, so I want you to just leave a couple leaves that look nice, but I want you to take off all the rest of the leaves and set them aside, because we'll reintroduce them at the end of the design if needed. Once you get your gladiolas in place, then you're going to use the safflowers, and I'm going to do a little demonstration here, because the safflower is on a stem, multi-branched like this. And the leaves tend to dry out quite quickly and will actually dry on the stem, but they're very busy and distracting. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave just the leaves that are underneath the calyx of the flower, but we're going to take our thumb and forefinger and just slide down the stem and remove the foliage off of each one. And then we're going to simply create a grouping of 3. So you're going to cut these apart like so, and then
You're okay.
there it is. Then we're just going to cut these at the bottom, and you can actually take them and twist them, make them in a little grouping so that they're not all at the same level. Stagger them. Try to take the one that's more open, and if you get a safflower that actually is closed but you can see a little bit, you can take your fingernail and actually kind of force it open a little bit so that you can get a little bit more color from the safflower. And this is of course the flower that gets is from the oil, safflower oil. So you can, it might put a little oil in your container. So if you see an oily bit in there, it's okay, it's from the safflower. So we're going to cut those about half the height of the design, and then you're going to actually braid them or twist them to kind of be in a grouping. You can also floral tape in a section at the bottom, but really it's not necessary if you braid them. And then you're just going to put them in 3 different locations in the front of the design. All right, so that's the safflower. Once you get the safflower in place, then you're going to go back to these leaves, and these are called Milky Way aspidistra. And you can see they look like the Milky Way with all the spots on them and the stars in the heavens. And you have 4 of them, you're gonna lay them out and you're going to look at which one is the biggest and fullest or strongest one, and that's the one you're going to place in front of the heaven line as a protecting leaf to kind of weight and pull your eye down and really give a nice look to the design. So you're going to do that to heaven, you're going to do that to man, then you're going to place one in the back, and then you're going to put one in the front. And the one in the front, you can actually take the end of the tip of the leaf and roll it into a curl. You'll just roll it tightly, kind of curl it like this, and then overlapping it, and then you're going to breathe on it, just like you would curl your hair in the morning with your hot rollers, and you're going to give it a cut off the stem, and you're going to add that in to the bottom, and that gives you a final triangle of you'll only see 3 leaves, but you'll have 4 in, 1 in the back to give depth, so you'll only see 3 leaves altogether, but there's 4 placements. Then the next thing you're going to put in are the asters, and the purple asters have a lot of foliage on them, which is a little distracting. So, and quite frankly, they don't hold up very well. They tend to, if there's no bloom on it, you can just snap it off. Or if it's a tiny little bloom, you can just carefully pluck off all of the big leaves. You don't have to take off every leaf, but just very carefully slide your thumb and fingers down to take off some of the bigger foliage that's on there. We do the same thing to solidago when we use solidago. It's the same type of leaf, and but these asters are nice as a little filler material. And you should have 3 stems altogether. I decided to use 2 stems and place them together in the front to just make one grouping of the asters, and then I have 1 in the back to give more depth. So they are the filler flower, and you want them to be lower than the safflowers that are in your design. And finally, the last thing you're going to do is you're going to add in, go back and look at and examine your gladiola foliage, and if you see some that look nice, you can go ahead and add a few in near where the gladiolas are to just give you a fuller look and a better finished design. So this is an upright form for the month of October. Enjoy the fall colors.